This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1282, 3 Bad Financial Decisions That Helped Me Retire Sooner, Part 1, by Chris Mamula of caniretireyet.com. And I'm Dan, I'm your host here on the podcast, and this is where I read to you from some of the best blogs on personal finance every day, including weekends and holidays. And we've got 5 shows covering all different topics with the same format, so you can search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this to find all of our 5 podcasts. But now let's get right to it and continue optimizing your life. 3 Bad Financial Decisions That Helped Me Retire Sooner, Part 1, by Chris Mamula of caniretireyet.com. We tend to judge our decisions by outcomes. In her book, Thinking in Bets, Making Smarter Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts, Annie Duke points out the faulty logic of thinking this way. We love things to fit in neat little boxes, but life is far more nuanced. Nearly all decisions have to be made with imperfect information, making outcomes uncertain. Rarely does a single cause lead to a direct and predictable effect. We can certainly make better decisions, and we should try, but it's important to realize that luck and unforeseen consequences play a role in the outcome of those decisions. Using this context, I'll explore 3 financial decisions that undoubtedly accelerated my path to early retirement, but I'd be reluctant to recommend others to make these same decisions. Mistake 1. We grossly underinsured. Disability insurance. For most working people, physical capital is their most valuable asset. It therefore makes sense to insure this asset in the event you can't continue to work and earn income. There are guidelines for how much disability insurance you should purchase. My wife always had short-term disability insurance provided through her employers. I never did. We never felt the need to buy short-term disability insurance for me. We quickly built up an emergency fund. I was able to carry 4 weeks of banked vacation time, and we always lived on only one income, so we were confident we'd be fine in the event of short-term disability. Long-term disability insurance was a different animal. We appreciated how valuable it could be if one of us became disabled. However, we also looked at the hefty price tag to insure each of us. We also considered that we were eligible for some long-term Social Security disability benefits. We decided to take the risk of not buying long-term disability policies. To be clear, I'm not advising anyone else do what we did. Life insurance. There are several rules of thumb to determine how much life insurance you should purchase. By any of these rules, my wife and I have always been grossly underinsured. We didn't buy any life insurance until we purchased our home. The house was our only liability, and it was valued at $250,000. We purchased $250,000 term life insurance policies for each of us, figuring that if one of us died, we could pay off the mortgage, with some money left over, while the other got back on his or her feet. After paying off the mortgage, we let our policies lapse. When our daughter was born, we again each bought $250,000 term policies. By that point, we were well on our way to financial independence. We figured it would make sense to give ourselves a little bit of financial leeway if one of us passed away prematurely. With only one adult and one child to support, we figured our assets at the time, plus the life insurance benefit, would make us financially independent. Why it worked for us. There is an obvious reason why being underinsured accelerated our path to financial independence. We were lucky. Neither of us died or had a serious medical condition requiring us to miss substantial periods of work, aside from my wife's maternity leave. This is a perfect example of a good outcome not necessarily being indicative of having made good decisions. I'm confident we made reasonable risk management decisions with life and short-term disability insurance. In either case, a negative event would have created personal hardship, but not necessarily financial hardship. Having more money would not necessarily have lessened the hardships. Long-term disability insurance is harder to evaluate. According to the Council for Disability Awareness, 1 in 3 Americans do not have adequate disability insurance. We made a conscious decision to be in that underinsured 1/3, knowing we were diligent savers. Our rationale was that by saving and investing those premiums, we could accelerate our wealth building and self-insure sooner than if we had followed conventional wisdom. Our decision was also a bet on our marriage. Having 2 professional adults and relatively low household spending meant we could survive one of us being disabled, assuming the marriage survived the stress and change in relationship dynamics that could come with a long-term disability. Ultimately, this decision was probably more lucky than good. I'm not sure I'd make the same decision if I had to do it again. We're grateful we'll never know what would have happened if one of us became disabled or died. But undoubtedly, the money we saved by being underinsured accelerated our path to financial independence and helped me retire sooner. Mistake 2. We paid off our mortgage quickly. In a popular post, Darrow challenged the conventional wisdom that buying a home is a better financial decision than renting. He backed up his argument with solid mathematical logic. Big Earn wrote in part 15 of his Ultimate Guide to Safe Withdrawal Rates, quote, "Don't bother paying down low-interest debt when young, for example, mortgage or low-interest student loans. Put every last dollar you can scrape together into the stock market early on." End quote. He also backs up his argument with mathematical analysis. Rick Edelman wrote an article on his site titled 11 Great Reasons to Carry a Big, Long Mortgage. We can debate how great these reasons are, but each point has validity. In spite of these sound arguments, my wife and I went all in on home ownership and paid off our mortgage as quickly as possible. We had a 15-year mortgage with a 3.75% interest rate. Instead of paying it down slowly and investing more in the stock market, we paid it off in 7 years. A lot of this was happening around the time of the 2008 market crash when stocks were available at bargain basement prices. In most situations, paying off a mortgage quickly is not the optimal financial strategy. In hindsight, it was a costly decision for us to bypass putting more money into the stock market at the start of a historic bull run. Why it worked for us? Hear that in tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled 3 Bad Financial Decisions That Helped Me Retire Sooner by Chris Mamula of CanIRetireYet.com. And I will finish the rest of this post for you tomorrow, but that's going to do it for today, so have a happy rest of your day and a great weekend, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for the Sunday show, where we'll finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.